I'm going to turn to you, Mr. Lucas. Do you have any feelings on that? I'm looking specifically for your views on what is currently in C45 contained in Section 26, because it is a very narrow set of restrictions on the labeling and advertising right now. And again, I'd like your advice on whether you think it's too narrow.
I worry that it might be, and once again, it's with the idea of maximizing the benefits of this step that we're taking here in Canada. I understand the cautionary approach. We're the first Western nation to be moving towards this. But the evidence that we have out of the U.S., the evidence that we have out of other jurisdictions, including Portugal, that have decriminalized, evidence out of Holland that's had coffee shops for a long time, is that we keep considering this as an add-on to alcohol and tobacco, and we're using a similar lens. Should we regulate like alcohol and tobacco? I need to remind committee members that this is not either. That if we look at any of the research, not one side of the research versus another, any of the research that's looked on the public health impacts in terms of healthcare utility, in terms of public safety impacts of cannabis compared to alcohol or tobacco, let alone the illicit substances, shows it to be a much, much safer substance. That doesn't mean we should be championing its use, but does mean that we shouldn't be disadvantaging it when it comes to access compared to alcohol or tobacco. We think that Ontario's taken some interesting first steps to start getting cannabis and be ready for July of 2018, but we're talking about 60 shops perhaps at the onset. There's over 600 outlets in Ontario where you can purchase alcohol. I'm obviously not counting every restaurant and bar also, which would be put it in the tens of thousands.
I don't want to get into distribution yet. I want to stay on branding and labeling. You made a very interesting, you raised the issue of should this be regulated more like tobacco or alcohol, or maybe neither. Some have advised me that they think that cannabis should be regulated in terms of advertising and labeling more like alcohol, because unlike tobacco is a uniform substance, whereas cannabis, like wine, for instance, has different characteristics. The CBD and the THC levels, particularly combined with the toluenes, make it almost, there's a panoply of different effects and types, and that this is important information both for customers to differentiate and to compete with the illicit market. So I'm reminded, like, this legislation says that you can't set out a depiction of a person, character, or animal, whether real or fictional. And I'm thinking you walk into a liquor store and you can have Wayne Gretzky Winery. And I'm thinking of the way people differentiate between wines, which is also a product that you keep away from children, that there are a lot of restrictions around what can be said on it. And I'm just wondering if that's a more appropriate analogy for us than a plain package of tobacco.
I think that you're absolutely right. What we're supportive of are bans on lifestyle branding. We don't want to celebrate cannabis use. We don't want to see anyone being depicted taking any risks, doing anything, overly athletic, etc. So that kind of lifestyle branding, we would not support at all. But we think that where adults only can congregate, such as the equivalent of liquor outlets, the equivalent of bars or consumption sites, we feel that there should be some ability to be able to speak to those adults, to be able to share messaging on different products and product effects, and that can be done through brands as well.
I want to turn a bit just to products. I'm a little bit confused in my mind. Now, in the medicinal cannabis world right now, are patients using non-smokable products in any kind of extent? Are they using creams and patches and sublingual tablets, oral sprays, capsules? Is that common? And if so, to what extent?
Yeah. It's about 50% of patients out there in Canada right now that are using as a primary method of ingestion non-smoke methods of ingestion. So about 31% use vaporizers. That's the most common, the most popular form of use right now is vaporization. That's closely followed, though, by edibles, which makes up just under 20% as well. So edibles would be, I don't want you to picture cookies or anything. It's drops or extracts. It's oral ingestion.
Is there a danger of having two different parallel systems here? Because under C45 in the recreational world, none of those are legal.
No, they would be. I think caps and oils would be legal. They would just not be consumed in the form of edibles. So caps, extracts, oils would be legal, but not with a strong concentration. So we understand that those would be legal. They just wouldn't be mixed into a brownie, for example.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the case yet with C45, but we'll look at